Hello and welcome to episode 11 of the Sandeman Street podcast, a podcast about Dundee and Dundee United from fans of both clubs. Today I'm joined by my regular co-host Jack. Jack, how are we today?
Good mate, how are you?
I'm good. Not much football from the two clubs to talk about this week, but we'll dive right into international games. Scotland coming away with 4 points from their opening two World Cup qualifying games against Denmark and Belarus. Two completely different games, really. A game on Friday night against Denmark in Copenhagen where we're probably a bit more under the cosh, but we also had a good few chances of our own, held our own against a pot one team. Our first away point against the pot one team since 2013. And then last night's game away in Hungary against Belarus behind closed doors, we had a lot more of the ball against a stuffy outfit. From what you've seen of the Denmark game, what did you reckon?
From the highlights, it looked like probably more dominated by Denmark, but it did look quite even. Scotland had their chances. Your favourite man, Christie, should have really hit the target with his free header. And I seen also Dykes managed to get through on goal, but I think the ball got caught up in his feet a wee bit. So that was unfortunate. Gunn made a couple of good saves. He was solid at the back. He made what seemed like a great double save. I think it was offside. It would have been called off if it had went in, but I think he done well to keep a clean sheet as well. So it looked like a good result overall.
Yeah, it was a good away performance, obviously, against a very good team in Denmark. We're in the pub before we're in the pub for the match, and before it, a few of the boys were saying that they were a bit worried. To be honest with you, I was looking at their team against our team man for man, and I didn't think we're very, very much worse than them, if anything. I mean, Kasper Schmeichel actually summed up very well in his post-match interview where he was saying, we actually underestimate ourselves a bit, and I think we do. We've got a lot of very good players. Unfortunately, a lot of them play in the same position, but we do have a lot of very good players. So I shouldn't think that a 0-0 draw away in Denmark should come as a major surprise. It is a good result, but I don't think it should become a major surprise. He touched on a couple of the chances there. The Christie header at the back post. He just needs to stick his neck muscles through it more than anything else and just aim for the back post. It just seemed a bit timid of the header. Your sarcasm there of going to be my favourite player. He's just, I just don't like him. But yeah, the one with Lyndon Dykes in the second half, me and one of the boys who was with had a bit of a debate on that. He reckons he should have went first time. I actually think he should have stepped onto the ball, went across the defender and then hit it. He's got the room to do that. He's 18, 20 yards out. If he takes his touch into the box and then hits it with his second touch, I actually think that was his best option, but he opens his body up, hesitates, lets the defender get back goal side, and then it's not as good of a chance after that.
I think he mistimed his run slightly. I think he's run forward a bit further than he should have, and the ball came back, so he's had to adjust slightly, which has maybe threw him off a wee bit. That's what it looked like from my eyes. So, but I can see where you're going from. I think if he takes a touch back towards Adams, if he has the chance, that'll open him up for a shot.
Yeah, I think Lyndon Dykes is right-footed. I mean, I've never been overly sure, but I think he is right-footed, and if he takes a touch across the defender who's trying to get back in with his left foot, takes it onto his right foot to have the shot, then I think it's given him a far better chance than opening his body up, letting the defender get back goal side, and then you need to beat him and the goalie. It screams of a boy who's not match sharp. Now, a lot of the players aren't, because quite a lot of the players who were playing on Friday and last night aren't playing every week for their clubs. I don't think hardly any of them are. But yeah, it looked like he was rusty. But a lot of good performances. I thought Grant Hanley at the back was outstanding. So was Suter. Aaron Hickey, I mean, looks like he's never been away. Been injured for a year and a half. Looks like he's never been away. He's a great player. Andy Robertson, obviously, we all know about. Angus Gunn's with a few shaky performances for Scotland, but I thought a minor criticism was I'd like him to come and catch the ball more, but that's nitpicking really. The midfield, Ferguson, McTominay, McGinn, who else was playing? Christie. No, he was okay. And then the front two, Adams and Dykes, I thought, I like both Adams and Dykes. Obviously offer you two kind of different types of strikers. In the first minute, Dykes ruffled up one of the Danish centre halves, and I thought the boy looking up at him and thinking, Jesus, I'm not used to this sort of striker. So they're both bring their different attributes. I thought I would have liked to have seen a wee bit more of Kieran Bowie. He's obviously not played any minutes in the two games. I thought last night was probably a better chance to see a bit of him. Steve Clarke's very loyal to a small number of players. Obviously, you've got boys like Kenny McLean, Hanley. He's very loyal to Christie's probably one of them. Now, these boys have taken him to tournaments, so you can't really complain too much, but he's either going to leave himself short if he takes a new contract when he's not given boys like Lennon Miller. That's another one. Lennon Miller, he's obviously been introducing Doak a lot more. Lennon Miller, Bowie, etc. Either he's going to leave himself short if he doesn't take a new contract, or he's going to leave the next manager short after the World Cup, because these boys aren't going to have many caps. And I think your McLeans, your Hanleys, etc., they're all very similar in age, so they're all going to retire probably similar times, and then you're going to have a lot of inexperience. So I've always liked Steve Clarke. I've been watching Scotland, obviously, pretty much as long as I've been watching Dundee. I've been going regularly for about the past 11, 12 years to Hampden. Steve Clarke's been the best manager Scotland have had that I could remember, other than maybe Walter Smith and Alex McLeish's first time there, when they had a very good campaign but never qualified. You've had your Burleys, Levines, Strackens. I mean, at the time the players probably weren't as good as we have now, but I remember those days. So I always like to think, be careful what you wish for with Steve Clarke. I know a lot of people don't like him. But that would be the one criticism I would have of him is he isn't introducing players like them quick enough, in my opinion. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think it's always good to have younger boys get that experience of playing in the national team, the senior squad. If we do qualify for a major tournament, which obviously would be great, these boys need that exposure beforehand, before these big competitions, because they might struggle with the pressure at that level. We don't know, they could thrive, but I think they do need more exposure in the senior squad. Like boys like Kieran Bowie should have at least played against Belarus, even off the bench for half an hour. Okay, there's no fans there, but he's still going to be on the pitch and gain caps as a Scotland player. Same with boys like Ben Doak. Ben Doak should be playing maybe a bit more regular than he is. So yeah, you're right. I think younger boys are needing to be pushing to the team a bit more. Boys like McLean, Hanley, they're not getting any younger, and in the next couple of years are probably going to retire. So these young boys do definitely need to be into the team a lot more.
I totally agree. I know that there's obviously different circumstances for different players. So if you take the like of Lennon Miller's playing in an area of the pitch where we are very strong. Like if you've not got Gilmore, you've got Lewis Ferguson, you've got McTominay, you've got McGinn. I know McGinn plays slightly differently for us than he does for Villa, but you've got a lot of good players coming up in front of him. He's obviously also a good player in his own right, but he's only, 19? I think one of the main ones last night was thinking, it's 2-0, the game's all but done, and he brings on Lyndon Dykes for 10 minutes. You're like, Lyndon Dykes has done well in a Scotland jersey for the majority of his Scotland career, but we know what he's all about. Just why doesn't he just bring Bowie on at that stage? Like Lyndon Dykes it's not like Lyndon Dykes hasn't played any minutes. He played the majority of the game on Friday. That's when I think he needs to be a bit more adventurous, but it doesn't really seem to be in his nature, does it?
No, definitely not. I really like the boy Bowie. I think he's got the ability to create moments of magic and create chances that probably wouldn't fall for other strikers. Like, look at his goal against, I think it was Partizan from the halfway line. He just, or not halfway line, but outside the box, hits on the volley, beats the keeper. I don't think Dykes does that. Shea Adams doesn't do that. So he does bring something a bit different. Lennon Miller, like you say, I think he's a really talented player. He has got a lot of competition in that area though. But if you're 2-0 up, I think you still bring him on and you give him that chance to gain experience against the best that, okay, Belarus maybe not the strongest country on the planet, but against the best they've got to offer. So that helps these boys grow by gaining that exposure, and Scotland as a nation would benefit as a whole from it.
Absolutely. And just before we move on, we've got two very big games next month. Greece at Hampden and then Belarus at Hampden. Greece had a very good result on Friday, and after obviously they came to Hampden and done a number over us in March, they had a good result on Friday. We're all thinking that they were going to be the team to beat, but Denmark go across there last night and put them in their place just about, really. 3-0 win over in Greece. But I think we need to have a bit of perspective. Yeah, they did come to Hampden and give us a bit of a doing, but we went and won there. People seem to forget that. So I'm cautiously optimistic for the games in October. I think if we take 6 points from there, we're in a right good chance, especially because we've got the pot 1 team at home last. We've obviously still got to go to Greece in November, but Denmark come to Hampden on the last game of the tournament. If we are going into that game knowing that if we win that game, like it's in our own hands, that's all you can ask for, and it's going to cost me an absolute fortune because I'm going to have to book America. So, there was one last thing I wanted to touch on, and it's a wee bit of a weekly moan. I know that we had a comment last week saying that I love a moan. You've known me a long time, Jack, and I'm sure that you don't know what that boy's talking about.
Never had one in my life.
I don't think you managed to take in any of the match last night, but they had this boy up front. He was wearing number 11. No idea what he's called. And every time he was going up for a header with John Souttar, particularly in the first half, going down holding his face. The referee must have penalised it at least 4 times, and it was for hands in the face. John Souttar's obviously using his arms to get leverage in his jump for the header. What else is he meant to do? It wasn't like he was sticking an elbow into the back of the boy's head or anything. It was like hands in the face, or no like anything aggressive. But the referee doesn't do himself any favours by giving them things. But yeah, that's my weekly moan. We'll move on. Now we'll move back onto the club side of things. What we're going to do in this section is we're going to have a wee bit of a rating of our club's transfer windows. We probably should have done that last week, but we'll do it this week. So what I'll do, Jack, is I'll go through the United players that the United players that have signed in the summer. You can maybe give me just like a brief thought on each player individually, and then you can rate your summer transfer window out of 10. How do you think of that?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go through the permanent signings first. So first of all, we'll have Zach Sapsford from Western Sydney Wanderers.
I think he's already shown himself to be a real threat up front. I like his movement. I think he's a really good signing for us.
Okay, next up now, I know that this is a bit of a common theme when it comes to me speaking on this podcast, but butchering foreign names is something I'm well good at. Next up we have Yuri Jovu, and he signed from Croatian team NK Istra 1961.
Yeah, so I think he's probably, I've said it in a previous episode, I don't think he was signed to be a regular starter for us. I think he was signed to be the backup. As a project player, I think he's only 22, so he's still got room to grow as a player. But obviously, Graham's injuries forced him into the first team. I think he's done okay so far. He was at fault for a couple of the goals against, all 3 of the goals against Hearts, really. But I think he's been solid enough other than that. So I think he's proven himself to be a good squad player anyway.
Okay. Next up we have, you're going to have to correct me on this, Panucci Kamara.
Yeah, I think that's right. He's been an absolute Rolls Royce in the midfield so far for us. He seems to have an engine that never runs out of fuel. So I really like him so far. I think he's been a really good signing for us.
Okay. Next up, Yevhen Kucherenko.
Yeah. Bit of a risky goalkeeper. He's going to have your heart in your hands sometimes, but I think your head in your hands rather. I think he's done okay so far. I don't feel like he's really been tested too much. All the goals we've conceded, he's not really had a chance with. So he's like I say, he's a bit of a maverick. He likes to come out and charge for the ball at crosses, but he seems to have been pretty good so far.
Okay. Next up we have Bert Esselink.
Absolute Rolls Royce of a centre back. Could quickly become a fan's favourite, a legend at the club if he continues the way he's going. He seems as calm as you like at the back. He reads the game really well. I think he's maybe the best signing we've made so far.
The next player is Dario Namo from St. Pölten in Austria.
Yeah, probably signed as more of a squad player. He could play both left and right back, left and right wing back. He could also play winger as well if need be. We've not really seen much of him because he was injured. He's made a couple of sub-appearances, but I think he could be a decent option for us.
Okay. Julius Ekesen from FG Hogsund.
He's a boy we signed near the end of the window. I think he's made one sub-appearance for us, or maybe a couple of sub-appearances for us. I've honestly not seen the boy play, so I can't judge him too well. I think all of his highlights, he looks like a type of player that maybe has moments of magic, but otherwise he's probably going to be quite quiet during the game, so I don't see him going the way of some other signings, but he could be a good option to have.
Mm-hmm. And the last permanent signing is Nikolai Moeller from St. Gallen in Switzerland.
Once again, I've not really seen the boy play. He obviously came through Arsenal's academy. Well, he never came through Arsenal's academy, but he played for Arsenal for a couple of years, so he's obviously got a bit of something about him. He came on against Dundee, looked like he'd done pretty well, linked up pretty well with Ivan Dolček, who we'll obviously talk about in a minute. But I think he's done pretty well so far. Gives us an option up top, a bit of height, so that's always going to be useful to have.
Okay, now as you touched on the loans, first up we have Isaac Papo, who signed from Ferencváros, a Hungarian team anyway.
Ferencváros.
Well, yeah. That's who I thought it was, but it's spelt differently from that.
No, it's Ferencváros.
Well, it's Ferencváros, right enough.
Yeah. I think he was a really good player. Unfortunately, he suffered an injury against Rapid Vienna, which I'll take him out to at least January. So he's going to be a bit of a loss. I do like him as a player, though. He gives a bit of Jimmy Gomez vibes, likes to run in quite small in stature, quite strong on the ball. So I think if back fit, I think he could be a good option for us.
Mm-hmm. Next up, Amar Fatah from Troyes in France.
Yeah, you can see he's got a bit about him. He seems to blow hot and cold so far from what I've seen. Troy have obviously paid $5 million for him, which is a lot. He's part of the City group, so they've obviously seen something about him. I liked him when he came on against Rapid Vienna at the game at Tannadice. He gave us a bit of a different option on that left wing. He likes to cut in a lot more from what I've seen. Looks very good technically on the ball. I don't think he's going to contribute a lot in terms of goals and assists, but I think he gives defenders problems.
Okay. Christian Kerestes, who is signed from...
Good luck.
Oh, God. They are from the Hungarian as well. Nyíregyháza Spartacus.
Yeah, I think it's... Yeah, that's good enough, I guess. He seems solid at the back. We've got an option to sign him on... if we like him as well, I think. So he's been pretty good at the back. I think he's better than Juvu so far from what I've seen. Yeah, strong defender, reads the game well and likes to bomb forward, I've noticed as well a wee bit. So he's a good option at the back.
Okay. Max Waters from Barnsley.
Yeah, he seems like a good threat up top. Likes to run at defenders. It seems like or play off the ball for Sapsford. Scored a couple against Rapid Vienna. He had a good start to the season so far. Signed from Barnsley. You don't expect to sign decent players from them. No offence, but yeah, he's good. He's good to have up top, and he gives us a bit more depth in that position.
Okay, and finally, from the loans, Lucas Stevenson from Liverpool.
Yeah, obviously had him last year. Can play everywhere on the park really, from the midfield back. I'm really happy with that signing. We beat competition from, I think it was Swansea and Cardiff or something for a signing. So I think that's a really good signing to have in depth everywhere on the pitch.
Okay, and just before I get you to rate your summer transfer incomings, I'll just run through the outgoings. We'll just go through them all straight away, and you can tell me if there's any that you would have kept or whatever. David Babunski, Zeki Cameron, Alan Campbell, Adam Carnwath, Ross Dockery, Declan Gallagher, Lee Moult, Brian Mwangi, Jack Newman, Ollie Simpson, Tony Watt, Glenn Middleton, Meshach Ubachioma, Rory McLeod, Jort van der Sand, Kai Fotheringham, and Richard O'Dada.
Out of them, I'm gutted Van der Sande left. I'm one of his fanboys, as you would say. I thought, like I said a few episodes ago, I think he was touted as a striker. I think he was more of a creative midfielder, if anything. You like to drop in a bit deeper. He would always give us options, and I'm convinced he would have eventually scored a goal if we played him enough. But other than that, I don't really think anyone's going to be much of a miss. Declan Gallagher and Ross Docherty were solid last season, but they don't seem to have been doing very well in the Championship with Ross County so far, so I'm not really missing them too much. And we've obviously brought in boys that seem to have strengthened everywhere, so yeah, like I say, I'm not missing anyone.
Mm-hmm. There's 3 loans: Rory Adams to East Fife, Charlie Dewar Alloa, and Lewis O'Donnell to Cove Rangers. Just a quick look at Van der Sand, and then this is only Wikipedia, so it could be anything, but his record is actually quite decent. 20 goals in 103 games for Den Bosch, 21 goals in 81 games for Eindhoven, 13 goals in 36 games for NAC Breda, 11 goals in 31 for Den Haag. So
yes, he seemed like a 1 in
bad.
3 striker, yeah. It's 1 in 3 for most of them teams, so like you say, I think he was a good player. I think he just didn't fit the system maybe well enough, and so he's been let go, but he'll be sorely missed.
The photo of him is he looks like the most Ouija Dutchman I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, ginger.
So Jack, after all of that, what would you give United's transfer or summer transfers out of 10?
From what I've seen so far, I think we've strengthened in most positions. I think we've got more depth in the squad as well, which we were missing from last season. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I don't want to be too confident too early and give it an 8 or a 9 and then regret it later. So I'm going to go with 7. I think we've strengthened. We could have maybe done with another left back. And maybe signed some players that aren't so injury prone as most of them seem to be. But I think we've definitely strengthened the squad on last season, I think. So, yeah, I'm going to go 7.
That's probably around about where I would have went. But we'll move on. You're going to do similar to me. You're going to read me through the Dundee signings, outgoings, if you want to do that. So just when you're ready.
Yeah, so we've got Plamen Galabov from Maccabi Petah Tikva from Israel.
Well, don't know. I've never seen him. I went to one of the 2 of the League Cup. One of the League Cup game, I think it was. Yeah, I was away at Bonnyrigg, and I'm absolutely positive that he didn't play that game. So I'm pretty sure it was Ashley, Cometio, and Clark Robertson. So yeah, I'm not too sure, but from what I've been told by others, he's a bit of an old school, no nonsense centre half. Uh, if you're wanting to play pretty football out from the back, he's not your man. Now, if I was playing centre halves, that would be what I would have, but I'd imagine that Stephen Presley's wanting a bit more guile. But yeah, I can't really give you an opinion on him because I've never seen him myself.
Fairs. Next, we've got Paul Digby from Cambridge.
Yeah, he's never going to be anything spectacular. He's obviously picked up an injury. I think his last game was at Ibrox, where he had a good game. He's pretty much replaced Mo Salah as that style of midfielder in our team. He's just one of the players where he's going to be at the right place at the right time. He's going to win the ball back and give it to the footballers as such. I know that's kind of a bit condescending. He probably would argue that he's more of a footballer than that, and yeah, I'm not going to argue with him, but he's a breaker-upper in the team. I like him for that aspect of things. I think, especially the game at Ibrox, he's effective in that side of the game. So yeah, I'm happy with him so far.
Next, we've got Dre Wright from St Johnstone.
I've always liked Dre Wright. I know he's had a wee bit of injuries, especially when he was at Hibs. He's very versatile, could play right up the right side of the pitch, probably can play central as well. He didn't have his best game in the derby, but he's a solid signing. We need to, I think, personally, think Dundee should be signing more boys like him. Kind of journeyman boys who have went about a lot of similar level of clubs to us in the SPL. He knows the league. He's been up here for quite a few years now. So yeah, I was happy with the signing when it was first made, and I think he's had his moments. He, as I say, he wasn't as good in the derby. Dundee didn't really turn up, but yeah, I'm happy with that signing.
Callum Jones from Hull City.
One of the ones that I've rated the most. I think he could definitely be a good player. I think Dundee have obviously kind of had a summer where they've went for mostly project players, especially from down south. He could have a good career. I think he's maybe early 20s, maybe 22, 23, something like that. 24 he is. Mm-hmm. A Welsh like age group internationalist. So yeah, I think he could be a good player for us. I think he could definitely progress. The only thing that I worry about him is that in the past 4 or 5 years he's went on loan to numerous different lower league teams in England, and every single one of them's got relegated. So let's hope that he's no jinx.
Yeah, that's not a good omen. We have Ashley Hay from Brentford.
Another one where I've seen him in spells. He was very good. He led the line well at Ibrox. He's for a guy who's not overly tall. He's got a good leap on him. He's good in the air. From what I've seen, there's not been too much to shout about, but I think there's more to come from him.
Ethan Hamilton from Lincoln City.
I think that's a very good signing. A lot of people, just based on reading up on his career, the fact that we've got him, we've went and paid money for him, I think is a good sign. He's obviously from here, he's from Edinburgh, come through at Hutchie and then he signed for Man United as a young boy. Never actually played in Scotland, but he's 26, played quite a few games for a lot of different clubs in England, Bolton, Peterborough, Aggie Stanley, Lincoln, who we signed them from. I think there's a couple of others as well. But you could see, even in the derby, he was obviously brand new to the team, didn't really know his teammates, and only had maybe 2 or 3 training sessions with the team. But he was demanding the ball, he was shouting and balling at his teammates. And one of the things I liked about him is that when he got the ball and he got his head up, if he seen space in front of him, he wasn't afraid to drive into that space, which is what we don't really have in our midfield. So yeah, I think that's going to be a good signing for us.
I actually agree with you, mate. I think he's a really good player. And he's came through Hutchie Vale, who are known for producing solid footballers, so I think that's a really good signing for us. Mm-hmm. Next, we've got Emile Aqua from Barrow.
Probably one of the ones that I'm most disappointed in so far, and I think that's very unfair because we're obviously only in the first week of September, but in the first international break, it's only really been 4 league games and a handful of glorified friendlies in the League Cup. So it's a harsh criticism. I just think that for such a big man, he doesn't really use his size well enough. Uh, he played 90 minutes in the opening game at Hibs. Now, it's even more harsh to judge him on that because Dundee, even though they only got beat 2-1 in that game, weren't very adventurous in the game, didn't want to get up the pitch, and he didn't get any service whatsoever. But from what he did get, as I'm saying, for such a big man, he didn't really hold the ball up very well. So, yeah, it's if I was to mark it as I was examining him at an exam, it would probably be a D.
Okay. Next we have Joe Wesley from Burnley.
Very happy with that signing. He signed the week leading up to the Rangers game at Ibrox, got thrown straight in, done very, very well there. Scored a goal at Kilmarnock. Obviously it was offside, he got disallowed from VAR. Didn't have his best game against United, but not very many of them did. I thought the way that was set up against United, it kind of looked like we were just basically trying to match them, man for man. Went 3-4-3 the similar way that United did, and it didn't suit him and a man that you're going to come on to in a minute, Danda, as well. He was kind of playing as a wide forward. He's a more through the middle type of striker, but I've been very impressed with him so far. Hopefully he'll start adding goals now we're getting properly into the season after the international break.
Yeah. So now we're going to the loan signings, and the man you just mentioned, Jan Danda from Hearts.
I mean, on paper, it's a great signing. If we can get the Ross County version of Jan Danda as opposed to the Hearts version of Jan Danda, then we're cooking with gas, I think. He's not really played in his position, I don't think, since he's signed. Maybe he did more so at Kilmarnock as opposed to in the Derby. But I think if we can get him maybe in, as they say, in the hole, the number 10, kind of in front of the midfield but in behind the striker, if I can get him into this, if I can somehow get him into that position, then I think we'll have a right good player there. And as I say, we're wanting the Ross County version instead of the Hearts version. But he's certainly a player with the guile that we need.
Cameron Congreve from Swansea.
Another one that on paper looks promising. He was on loan at Bromley last season in League Two in England, which is obviously not the best, but compared to what we have, a lot of Premier League teams up here are signing players from that level. Cultured kind of winger with good left foot. According to him and according to articles I've read up about him, we were the first team that inquired about him, and it was right at the beginning of the summer. And it was at a time where Swansea weren't prepared to let him out on loan yet. So that kind of stuck with him, and when he was then eventually allowed to leave on loan, Dundee had obviously still been pursuing him, and because Dundee were first in for him, he kind of appreciated that, and that's why he chose to come here. I think, as I say, all the Dundee players are, majority of them anyway, maybe Hamilton, Dre Wright, Paul Digby, they sort of boys aren't projected, they're the ready-made articles. But boys like Congreve, I think you're going to have peaks and troughs with them all season. I just hope that there's more peaks than troughs.
Yeah. And your final signing is Tony Ugan from Brentford.
Another one, I mean, I love a winger. I love wingers. It's what I grew up watching through the kind of mid to late noughties and the early part of maybe the early to mid to 2010s. 4-4-2 with wingers, predominantly in the Championship as a Dundee fan. But you can't beat a winger, You just can't beat them. And I get that they can be massively frustrating at times, and Tony Ugan is one of them. Sometimes he wants to beat the man 4 times rather than beat him 3 times and put the ball in the box. But I'm far more patient with boys like him because they've got the tools to unlock defences. They've got the tools to make things happen. So, for the handful of Dundee fans that listen to this podcast every week, my message would be, and nobody's going to listen to me, but my message would be, have patience with this guy. He might turn out to be a dud, but he's one of the only players in this squad who's got that guile, who's got that creativity to make things happen.
Okay, and I'm going to do your outs now. Josh Mulligan, Jordan McGee, Scott Tiffany, Joe Shaughnessy, Mohamed Salah, Lyle Cameron, Antonio Portales, Scott Fraser, and Adam Legzins. What's your thoughts on them? Would you take any of them back?
Well, obviously we'd have Lyle Cameron and Josh Mulligan back. There's been a bit of a debate going on for maybe about a year now with Dundee fans, Mulligan or Cameron. And for me, one, they're two completely different types of player for a start. But for me, if you were having to pick one, I would always pick Lyle Cameron. Now, people think that I didn't rate Josh Mulligan. I rate Josh Mulligan. He's got a lot of good attributes. I don't think he's the finished article. I think he's far from it. He'll obviously improve being at Hibs. He's got better players around him. He'll probably get a Scotland call-up now he's at one of the bigger teams in the country. But Lyle Cameron's got that, what I keep saying, that guile. He's got that intelligence to make that late run into the box. He sees a pass that not many other players see. Josh Mulligan's a powerhouse. He gets the ball and drives down the park, and obviously Dundee are probably missing that as well. I would have kept both of them. I would have loved to have kept Jordan McGee. He's been picking up a wee bit more injuries in the past maybe year or so than he did in the first part of his Dundee career. It's one of the boys where he play anywhere, he doesn't complain. He was at Dundee for quite a while. You're kind of hoping that boys like that make it to get a testimonial, but obviously that's not to be. He's moved closer to home with Motherwell, so good luck to him. Who else? I probably would have kept Shaughnessy. I know that he's a wee bit older, but his experience would have been good in this team. Who else? I think Tiffany, not too bothered, to be honest. Portales, not too bothered. Who else have we got?
Scott Fraser.
Not bothered in the slightest.
Mosilla.
Not too bothered.
Yeah, the rest were loans that expired.
Yeah.
So what are you rating that out of 10 then?
Our transfer window out of 10, I would probably say 5. I think it was an absolutely impossible transfer window, not just for Stephen Presley, but for the club. With them losing so many players, I think they lost, they scored, say, I can't remember exactly how many goals it was, but they scored, say, for example, they scored 60 goals last season. I think they lost 55 goals out the team. No, that's bollocks, because they've got Simon Murray. But they've lost however many goals, and Simon Murray, I think it's Simon Murray and Clark Robertson are the only two players left there that scored goals last season. Something like that. But they've lost pretty much all their goals other than Simon Murray. They've lost all their experience, and they had, I think, one striker and one midfielder at the beginning of the pre-season. So it's a major rebuild, and when you're having to do that, you're always going to sign duds. Let's just hope that we sign more good players than we sign more duds. But I think 5 is probably fair. Cautiously optimistic on quite a few of them. Not so optimistic on maybe 1 or 2 of them, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, mate. It's like you say, it was a big rebuild for you. And so I kind of agree with you. I think you've got a couple of signings there that I've been impressed with so far. Like I said before, Ethan Hamilton, I think, is a great signing for you. Jan Danda, I think, is a good signing for you on loan if you get the Ross County version and not the Hearts version. A couple of other boys look pretty decent as well. Joe Wesley looks quite a live wire, and Cameron Congreve as well looked pretty good. Looks decent anyway. A couple of other boys I've not been too impressed with, but I think 5's quite fair for you overall. You've obviously lost a lot of good players for a club of Dundee size, no offence. But Lyle Cameron, he's going to be a loss. Mulligan's going to be a loss as well. So I think it is quite fair. A 5's probably a decent score.
I mean, you look at it even this way, right? So Dundee's best performance of last season, you could point to the Hearts game at the beginning of the season when they played them. I think it was second game they played them at Dens. They absolutely battered them in the first half. Could have been anything. But probably their best performance of the season was in the derby at Tannadice that they won, right? Now, this is going to show you how sad I am because I'll probably be able to remember the starting 11. Trevor Carson is still there. For some reason or other isn't playing, but that's for another day. The left back was Larkesh. Now, Larkesh was out injured for 2 or 3 months of the season, but the biggest praise I could give of Larkesh, I've probably said on this podcast before, was he was a good enough signing for us that he made you forget about Owen Beck. Because Owen Beck, we had the year before at left back, was outstanding, and a lot of Dundee fans would have been thinking, we're not going to get nearly as good as him. Larkesh came in, and he was very, very steady. Very, very good player in his own right. The back two, the centre halves, Aaron Donnelly's still there, can't get near the team, in my opinion, should be. And Shaughnessy, he's left. Jordan McGee was right back, he's left. The midfield three, I think, was Silla, he's left. Cameron, he's left. Mulligan, he's left. And their front three was Murray, still there. Tiffany left, and Adewumi back to Burnley, and he's now on loan at Cercle Bruges. So, from their best performance of the season, their goalie's still there and can't get in the team. One centre half out the back, about the back four still there and can't get in the team. No midfielders, and the striker is the only one still there. So, that's a big rebuild. And it's not like you're losing all the players and they're all like bench warmers and squad players, and you're keeping the core nucleus of your main 11 and adding to it. We're losing our best players, other than Murray. And I would argue Carson in the goal, but he doesn't seem to be getting a game at the moment, which I keep touching on. But yeah, it is what it is. It's always going to be a hard one to do. I think most level-headed Dundee fans accept that and understand that, but I've said it in the past, that was from failings before Presley entered the building. Anyway, we'll move on to this weekend's fixtures. Dundee are at home to Motherwell. The media up here would have you believe that they were playing Barcelona, but they are playing Motherwell. They knock the ball about 4 billion times before they get to the halfway line, but they've yet to win a game. What do you think of this week's, Jack? What do you think of that game?
I've not actually seen anything about Motherwell this season, to be honest with you. I don't know how they're playing. Motherwell are always a tough team to come up against, though. They always seem to pick up good results here and there. So it probably will be a hard game. I really like their striker. They've got the Zimbabwean boy, I think he is. He's fast, he's direct, and he scored a couple against United last season. I think he's a good signing, and with the money they got for Lennon Miller, obviously he's a big loss, but they managed to sign a couple of good players with that money. Particularly, I think it was a left back from Birmingham. I think they paid quite a chunk of money for him. So I think he's a good signing. I don't know his name exactly, but I think they've made a couple of good signings, and it could be a tough game for Dundee if they're not up for it. It could be a hiding. You've seen that against United, they weren't up for it, and I don't think they challenged United much at all. So it could be a tough game for Dundee, but you've just got to hope that the team's gelled a bit more, and Presley's done a bit more extra training with them over the international break.
Mm-hmm. I think what I was saying there is based on if you listen to Open Goal podcast, we've obviously got Motherwell player on it, so it's a bit biased. You've got BBC West Coast that masquerades as BBC Scotland. Obviously they cover your Kilmarnock, St Mirren's, Motherwell's way more than they'll ever cover Dundee and Dundee United and Aberdeen and St Johnstone. You would think that Motherwell are this new incarnation of 2011 Barcelona. Javi's in the midfield, Messi's up front, but they've played 4 games in the league and drew all 4 of them. So, I mean, I'm missing something here. But I just had a quick look through their signings so far. They've signed 9 players. Lucas Fadinger, Jordan McGee, Elliot Watt, Elijah Just, who I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going on about, Emmanuel Longello, Ibrahim Said, Callum Hendry, Regan Charles Cook and Oscar Priestman. 3 players on loan, Eso Sosa Sule, Isapa Osong and Stephen Welsh.
I think, like I say, mate, Stephen Welsh, I think, is a really good signing for them.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Charles Cook, proven at this level, done well for Ross County previously. Another good signing. That Longelo is the Dunfermline player that they signed. He scored 3 goals in 4 games from left back. He's obviously got something about him. So I think they have strengthened really well.
Motherwell are always going to be one of the teams. They're like a bad rash. They never go away. They're never going to get relegated. Them and Kilmarnock obviously did a few years ago, but come straight back up. It seems to be what happens in the past 6 or 7 years. They're just there every year, aren't they? Callum Henry, solid signing. Charles Cook, if he could reproduce what he did at Ross County, good signing. I'm sure it is the boy Elijah Just that everyone's going on about. Jordan McGee hasn't really featured, but if he gets fit, which he will be for Saturday because he's going to score. I'm not saying that I disagree necessarily with what these people are saying, and well, no, that's not what I meant. What I mean is, I'm not saying that I think Motherwell are shite. Right, I watched them for an hour against Rangers and thought they were very good, but the way that they're getting hyped up is that as if they won that Rangers game and they won the rest. The blew a 3-0 lead at Tynecastle in 20 minutes. Like, everyone goes on about how good they were to get 3-0 up. They also blew that 3-0 lead. Now, Dundee are a team, as we've just discussed, in major transition. They've had a couple of good performances and a couple of bad performances in the league so far. Absolutely a massive chance that they'll come to the ends and take away 3 points. But I just don't think we're needing to hype them up as much as we are. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, we'll move over the street. United have got a very, very tricky game this week, haven't they? Away at Hibs live on the telly.
Yeah, it's a tough game, mate. They've been playing really well under David Gray recently. It was surprising, to be fair, because when he first took over, they were absolutely stinking. But he's turned them around and they're playing really good football at the moment. They've got really good players. They've got Bowie up top. They've got Martin Boyle. They're just a really good outfit. And it's going to be a tough game for us. Quite a few injuries still. Kamara picked up an injury on international duty, so he never played. He had to return. He should make the game. He's got a wee groin injury, apparently, according to the Courier. Sturton might be back. He picked up an ankle knock, and Trapanovsky and Ryan Strain, I think they're training, but it's unsure if they'll make the game or not. So we've maybe lost Kamara in the middle of the pitch, which isn't going to help. So it is going to be a difficult ask for the team. But you've just got to hope that you can get something out of it.
Yeah, I suppose you would have been better off with them off the back of a European game, but with them going out, and obviously it's just been the international break, I would imagine that they'll have had a handful of players away, as you guys have had as well. So it's a very, very hard place to go at the moment, Easter Road. I would assume that they'll have... I think they've sold something like 15 or 16,000 season tickets this season. They've cut the away allocation now because there's home fans in that stand. With you being local to Edinburgh, I know that you went there last season. Are you making the trip this time?
No, I'm not. I think the tickets sold out in half an hour or something. I didn't even know they were on sale, so I never got a ticket. My brother might. Yeah, I think it sold out really quick.
Half an hour slow for United. They usually sell out in about 0.4 seconds.
Yeah, but I never got a ticket, so unless a ticket comes available, my brother will probably be going, and no doubt one of his mates will no go, so we'll see. But at the moment, no, I'm not going to the game. I might go to a wee non-league game and see what's going on somewhere else if I can't get to that game. So
I've noticed that you're becoming a wee bit of a grim topper.
I am.
What's been your favourite wee grim so far?
I went to Hill of Beef last week, and I actually really enjoyed it, mate. I thought it was a really good stadium. Nice. It's just a wee stadium. I had a lot of cover all around it. I had a Stevens Bakers in it. So yeah, it was good, and they scored a 96th minute winner to win the game. So it was good.
Is Stevens Baker's the one that do Dunfermline?
Yeah, I think so.
You
Yeah.
get the Brady's.
Didn't have Brady's there, but you
Oh.
probably do. Yeah.
I can't remember if it's Dunfermline that have Stevens or not, but the Brady's at East End Park are magnif. Now it's just a pity that Dundee have been in the same league as them for quite a few seasons, and even when they do seem to be in the same league, you will have COVID or something like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I was speaking to a few of my pals on Saturday night, and they'd done hospitality at Lochie United. Got some game 4 each draw against East Craigie.
Oof.
That's supposed to be non-league
Yeah,
football's
I know.
brilliant. I didn't do it nearly
I-
enough.
I've been to 3 games in the last 3 weeks, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it, mate.
Maybe you could get to yourself to Tannadice for this podcast, eh?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I was hoping that the Lochie United Brecon City Scottish Cup tie would get picked for the telly, so would get moved, because we were away at St Mirren that day, and I was really hoping to get to that, but Auchinleck Talbot Cumnock got picked, which was always going to happen. Big rivalry between them two, so I'll probably not get, but Brecon obviously semi-local. It's not a derby, but it's local enough for the two teams. That'll be a good game, but I'd imagine that Brecon will probably win.
You'd think so.
Yeah. But yeah, back on to the game at Easter Road on Saturday evening. It is live on Premier, I think. It's half 5 on Saturday evening, is that right?
I think it is. Yeah, it's on the telly, yeah.
So yeah, it should be a good game. It'll be a right good test to see where United are at the moment, because Dundee didn't give them that test.
Yeah, good to see us against a top level outfit. Obviously, they've got a bigger budget than a lot of teams in the league. Like you say, they've sold 50,000 season tickets, which is seriously impressive. So it's going to be hard. They're going to sign good players. Going to provide a lot more challenge than Dundee, I feel. So it'll be interesting to see where we are. Europe's a different beast. You're going to be a lot more up for that. So you're going to put in your good performances then. It's what happens against these bigger clubs in the league that is really your metric for where you are, I feel like, outside of the smallest clubs.
I mean, I think that Hibs have got the best chance of splitting the Old Firm out of all the clubs outside the top two. I don't think they will do it. I think Celtic and Rangers will get their act together enough to finish first and second in whatever order that happens in. But I think if anybody's going to do it, it'll be Hibs.
Yeah, I think they're 5 points off of Hearts just now. Hearts have had a strange start to the season where they seem to be performing really poorly but still getting the results. So they're up there, and Rangers have been really poor so far. But yeah, I think Rangers will pick up in a wee bit, maybe now, and make their way back up the table. But yeah, I think Hibs have probably got the best chance of everyone.
Rangers haven't won a league game yet.
Yeah, I know.
It's halfway
Crazy.
through, well, a week and a bit into September, and they've won a league game. I know we've had an international break in, and we've had a League Cup weekend, but it's crazy when you think about it, isn't it?
Yeah, mate. You would never expect that. You wouldn't imagine a manager to last that long if that was the case.
No, especially with some of the Club Bruges games in Europe as well. My word. And then they had that boring Old Firm game last weekend. I mean, I got football stopped that game. Anyway, we'll move on to our last topic of the episode. As always, it is the Futbology Challenge. Now, I know that we jokingly said last week that we were going to move the podcast. We usually record on a Monday. Today's Tuesday. We're recording on. That was because of the Scotland games. Obviously, we wanted to get them in. Jack thought that was because I didn't want to do another Monday to get a result from that season. But it turns out it doesn't matter. Only the one game for me this week. As always, I'll put the results and the league table on screen for if you're listening on YouTube. It was actually in the season before that season, so it's Neil McCann who haunts me. It's no that season, it's Neil McCann. A 4-1 loss at Ibrox. Now, we'll go through the details of the match. What makes it even more embarrassing is it was that half-wit Pedro Caixinha who was the manager of Rangers that day. As I said, ours was Neil McCann. An attendance of 49,164. Rangers starting 11, Wes Foderingham, James Tavernier, Fabio Cardozo, Lee Wallace, Bruno Alves, Ryan Jack, Graham Dorns, Nico Kranjčar, Kenny Miller, Alfredo Morelos and Daniel Candeas. Their bench, Jack Anick, Danny Wilson, Jordan Rossiter, Carlos Pena, Josh Windass, Aaron Nemane and Eduardo Herrera. Our starting 11 was Scott Bain, Jack Hendry, Kevin Holt, Cammy Kerr, Kerr Waddle, Scott Allen, Rory Deacon, Glenn Kamara, Lewis Spence, Faisal El Baktui and Sofiane Musa, with a bench of Elliot Parish, John Ortaneche, Darno D, Paul McGowan, Mark O'Hara, AJ Leach-Smith and Randy Walters. Rangers goal scorers 41 Morelos, 68 Windass, 83 Pena and 85 Morelos, and on 90 was a consolation from El Baktui. So yeah, not a great week in the Futbology Challenge for myself. Jack, you had a forfeit weekend.
I did.
You need to start getting yourself to more non-league games. So
that's what I'm doing it for.
Martin, on the other hand, he had a game from the same day actually, so both of our games were from 9th of September 2017. A championship game against Dumbarton, which finished in a 1-1 draw. Now, he texted me earlier to say that he reckons that my game was better than his game. So that's some statement regarding this game. There was an attendance of 5,331. The managers were Ray McKinnon and Stevie Aitken. United's starting 11. Now, Jack, we'll see what you think of this starting 11. Harry Lewis, William Ejungele, Stuart Murdoch, Paul Quinn, Jamie Robson, Jordy Briels, Scott Fraser, Fraser Fivey, Sam Stanton, Scott McDonald and Paul McMullen. The bench, Dennis Mehmet, Mark Durnan, Lewis Toshney, Willow Flood, Billy King, James Keatings and Patrick Nkoyi. What do you reckon?
That's a horror squad, mate. That's terrible. I think only maybe 2 or 3 of them I would say are decent footballers. I think the rest were pretty rubbish. I think Flood's obviously a good player. James Keating, he was good when he played, but he wasn't very good for United. But Scott Fraser, obviously, he was a good player at that time. Apart from that, I don't think there's much going for that squad, to be honest with you. I'm not surprised they never got promoted.
The starting 11 for Dumbarton, Scott Gallagher, David Smith, Chris McLaughlin, Dougie Hill, Craig Barr, Stuart Carswell, David Wilson, Sam Wardrop, Greg Morrison, Tom Walsh and Dimitris Froxilius. The bench, Jamie Ewings, Christian Nade, what a hero, Callum Gallagher, Chris Johnston, Alistair Roy and Kyle Pryor. Now, there was a goal in the 4th minute from Dumbarton from David Smith, with an equaliser from James Keatings in the 87th minute. I could just imagine the boos every time United misplaced a pass or the ball went out for a goal kick when they're attacking or something like that. You could just imagine the boos until that 87th minute. Even after that, did I think United crowd would have taken too kindly to that? What do you reckon?
No, I think we always struggle against Dumbarton. I remember going to a Dumbarton game when we first got relegated over there. I think it was a 1-1 draw as well, and we just couldn't seem to beat Dumbarton for some reason. They always seemed to make it difficult for us. So, yeah, I can imagine there would have been boos a lot until the goal. They always just seemed like a tough physical side that we couldn't break down for some reason.
You seem to get a team like that in the Championship, don't you?
Yeah.
Dundee have had more than one of them in the past. The ones that stick out for me were always Airdrie, Clyde and Queen of the South. Dundee have never had very good records against them, whereas you'll have teams that you'll always beat. So, more often than not, Dundee beat Raith Rovers, or they'll beat... Dumbarton was one of them, actually. They used to beat Dumbarton quite regularly when they were down there with them. But then there's other teams that they just could never get a result against, and Airdrie and Clyde were definitely done. Queen of the South was another one. Everybody had this perception of Queen of the South that they were a bogey team, but we actually did beat Queen of the South every now and again, whereas Clyde and Airdrie would never ever beat them. I think we went 2 years without beating Airdrie in the league.
Jesus.
Airdrie. They're not even called Airdrie, they're called Clydebank. But anyway, that's a story for another day. That wraps up episode 11 of the Sandeman Street podcast. As always, if you're listening on YouTube, could you give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already? You could find our socials on Twitter. It is at SandemanSTPod. That is at SandemanSTPod. And on Instagram, it is at the Sandeman Street Pod, all one word, at the Sandeman Street Pod. You can give us a follow, show us your support, tell me how much of a moan I am, engage as much as you can. It really drives up, and we really appreciate everybody who listens. We know that it's just two daft Dundee United supporters talking garbage for an hour or so every week, but if you do listen regularly, we really do appreciate it. Thanks very much for listening as always. And hopefully we've both got 3 points to look forward to this weekend. Cheers.